here in the city limits, well, I always thought septics were approved by the county.
Right now, all of the building entities in the county, Yavapai County Health Department supervise the septic system itself, but all of the building departments inspect any connection to the system. And the city, the town of Chino Valley actually has the ability to regulate the septic system, but it's not the county's and not charge anybody.
Yeah. Do we have any jurisdiction over a site map as far as where a septic goes?
We do, but by letting the county supervise that portion of it, they take care of that. It has to be 100 feet away from a domestic well.
Yeah.
It has to be so many feet away from the property lines, that sort of thing, and that's all dictated by the county.
Okay, that answers my question.
We
Thank you.
could do it, Chino Valley could do it, but why do it if the county's willing?
You're better off having one agency doing it, much better off.
Pardon me?
It's not.
Drying up those plot plans is no easy task.
Yeah, they're getting more and more detailed, that is for sure.
Could you scoot over for just a second? That's okay. Just a little tight. Thank you.
Dropped in the corner.
That's okay.
Limit your
The whole
My
building,
pencil is very, very sharp.
the whole building permit process has come down to that, actually.
And it's slowing construction.
It'll be an interesting meeting.
Yeah, it will.
Make
Just-
it worthwhile to come out.
Because I missed the one that was exciting.
That thing
And
doesn't.
this is the most
Doesn't.
No,
people that have ever been to a meeting that I've
Sure.
been at.
Well, the-
So,
Okay,
Yeah,
it,
it was
twice,
rather
didn't
interesting.
do 3 more.
let me check that clock,
And it
'cause
was
I,
completely
this, yeah, 'cause
I got
mentioned
that
it.
impression.
Oh, I see. Whatever way you do it.
I think I'll do that.
This says 5:56.
Yeah, but if I start counting down the changes, they may only get 2 minutes because it'll change right over to 5:58 real fast. If they had a second counter, that would be good. And maybe,
Well, I'd
well,
have to say
can
that
we, no,
I have
this is
that
a
gene in my
touchscreen.
genetic makeup,
Yeah, put the seconds on.
depending upon the issue.
That's what happened.
There are a few people who make up for it.
I was thinking of bringing mine tonight, and I'm thinking, no, I don't wear a watch. Maybe that was a,
Can I move this microphone or will she have a fit?
did you,
Yeah, you can move the microphone.
I guess I better turn mine back on again.
Thank you.
Well, don't forget to talk into the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Someone make coffee to the microphone. Oh.
Yeah, we're all under orders tonight to speak directly into the microphone.
Keep it right square in front of me, right?
Coffee, thank you. What's that?
I have kind of a funny view of you guys because I see you.
No. I guess it's not quite 6 yet.
I now call the August 4th, 2016 regular meeting to order. This is the August 4th, 2016 regular meeting of the Chino Valley Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Chuck Merritt, and I'm the chairperson of the Zoning Commission. This Planning and Zoning Commission sits in an advisory capacity to the town council and reviews planning and zoning issues and forwards recommendations regarding these matters to the Chino Valley Town Council for approval, denial, or referral back to the commission for further review. As the chairman, I will be presiding over this meeting. All questions and comments are to be directed to me and not to staff, individual commissioners, or members of the public. We please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Julie, would you lead us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Lane?
Here.
Commissioner Sloan?
Here.
Commissioner Bacon?
Here?
Commissioner,
Commissioner Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Van Wolfen,
Here.
and Chair Merritt.
Here.
And looks like Commissioner Pasiak is not in attendance.
That's correct. Okay, moving forward to, let's see, we'll move forward to the approval of the minutes for the June 7th, 2016 regular minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review that?
I move so that we pass the June 7th meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'd like to move forward to the next item, the approval of the June 15th, 2016 special zoning meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yeah.
I'd entertain a motion.
I move that these minutes be adopted.
We have a motion. I have a second.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to bring up item 6. Goodness. Clarification on what is considered a flag. Presentation planner Gardner responded to the questions from commissioners. I'm bringing this up because I asked the question, and I don't believe, I would like to listen to the audio, if possible, on the answer on that one.
Do we have that capability tonight?
we can set you up.
That would be great.
If you want to come into the office.
That would-
And it's online. The video, the meetings are video.
So do we want to table this and move it forward to the next meeting? Okay, so let's do that, please. Okay, moving on to the next item, approval of the July 5th, 2016 regular minutes of the Zoning Commission. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Anybody have any questions? I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 5th, 2016
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Moving forward to item 5, staff reports.
Yes, the town council reviewed the proposed amendments to the sign ordinance at their last meeting in July. They have some things that they would like the commission and staff to take another look at and clarify some language. So we'll be seeing those back in September.
Okay. Moving forward from the staff reports. Let me see here. Okay, we're going to have open the public hearing portion of this meeting. Okay, the public hearing portion of this meeting will be conducted using the following format. First, I will read the hearing application into the record. Staff will then present the case and their recommendations to the commission. After staff has concluded, questions from the Planning and Zoning Commission will be directed to the staff regarding the case. Once the commission has had an opportunity to discuss the proposal, I will open the floor to general comments from the public regarding the amendments before the commission. I ask that you all direct your comments to the commission through the chairperson and not to the staff or the individuals within the audience. I would appreciate your cooperation in making these statements brief and to the point. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. Once each member of the public has had an opportunity to speak, the chair will close the public comment portion of the meeting and no further comments will be taken. The commission may ask additional questions of the staff and may discuss the proposal amongst themselves before making a recommendation to council. So the public hearing portion of this is item 6, to request and amend the Town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance related to agritainment, including amendments to Chapter 2, definitions, Section 2.1, meanings of words and terms, Chapter 3, zoning districts, Section 3.5, AR 36, agricultural residential 36-acre minimums, subsection 3.5.2, permitted uses, AR 36, agricultural residential 36-acre minimums, sections 3.6, AR 5, agricultural residential 5-acre minimums, subsection 3.6.2, permitted uses, AR 5, agricultural residential 5-acre minimum, section 3.7, AR 4, agricultural residential 4-acre minimum, subsection 3.7.2, permitted uses, AR 4, agricultural residential 4-acre minimum, and amend Chapter 4, general regulations to add new section 4.32, agritainment development standards and regulations as set forth in that certain document entitled Amendments to the Town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance related to agritainment uses, dated September 13th, 2016. Staff report.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. Before you have the proposed text amendments for the agritainment portion of the agricultural and residential zoning districts. These amendments will provide a little bit more latitude for those residents of the town who have agricultural-oriented businesses or would like to start them, and right now the ordinances as they are written either prevent it or make it extremely difficult for them to do so. The purpose of this ordinance is to make sure that we preserve the agricultural history of Chino Valley, encourage activities that educate, foster interest in, and provide access to agricultural and agricultural business endeavors in Chino Valley, and to promote entrepreneurialism through agricultural tourism, entertainment, and production. So when we as we've been working on this, we've worked on a definition of what agritainment really means and what it is. The definition that will be added to Chapter 2, meanings of words and terms, is an enterprise or activity located at a working farm, ranch, or other agricultural operation or facility which is conducted for the enjoyment and education of visitors, guests, or clients, and that generates income for the owner-operator of the agricultural operation. Now, this is different, and in addition to agriculture, that definition will remain in the UDO. The tilling of soil, raising of crops, horticulture, viticulture, silviculture, including uses customarily incidental thereto, including the raising of animals, and agricultural business, which the UDO also defines. Any business use allowed within the town limits of Chino Valley, providing the operation of such use has a Chino Valley business license and/or proof of filing for IRS Form F. So the agritainment designation is in addition to the existing agricultural business and an agricultural operation. The ability to get an agritainment designation is above those. Anybody that has either an agricultural business is defined here or simply operates as agriculture can avail themselves to the relief provided in the agri-attainment amendments, but they're not required to. And the agri-attainment definition does not supplant or replace agriculture or agricultural business. What it is not, this is not an effort to replace traditional agriculture or ranching activities. The two, the agri-attainment and the agricultural, traditional agriculture as we know it, can coexist just fine. We already have some facilities in the community that are doing this right now. Again, agri-attainment is not a required use. It's an additional permitted use that requires an affirmative action to enact. So just because it's there does not mean that you are bound to abide by these rules. If you want to have an agri-attainment operation, we have an overlay district with separate rules that you follow. And again, agri-attainment does not replace existing approvals. If you were to already have a conditional use permit to operate an agricultural business or something that is similar to or even one of the uses in agri-attainment, if you already have an existing conditional use, you do not have to follow the agri-attainment rules. You can operate under the existing conditional use permit that you have. If you want to add on the agri-attainment uses, those are in addition to the conditional use permit that you already have. So just a brief history, we have been working on this one, like signage, for quite some time now. We introduced this concept back in January of 2015. We talked about it at Town Council. Staff was directed at a study session. Staff was directed to continue development of an agribusiness standard and overlay district. We discussed it again as a non-agenda action item at Planning and Zoning Commission. We've held a roundtable meeting in October of that year. In November of 2015, we had to table it till a future date. We were able to pick this up again in June, held another citizen participation meeting. We met with the Norm Freeman, one of the business operators in the town, on June 30th to discuss some of his concerns. We've held another citizen roundtable where we will be holding one. I'm sorry, we did hold one on 7/20 on July 20th. We had 5 members of the community come to that, and then we have the public hearing tonight. So we have spent some time looking at this and researching it. So how this works, essentially, for those who are not familiar with an overlay district, when you have a standard zoning district, and here we've used the agricultural residential districts as examples, there's a development standard that kind of floats above that, and it applies to all of the permitted uses in that zoning district. You have conditional uses, which are also subject to the development standards, but you can apply additional restrictions on a conditional use permit. So we have a development standard up here. It applies to all of these underlying zoning districts. The agri-attainment standard, rather than being top-down, is zoning up, so that somebody can literally reach up and say, I want to do this, and these are now available to me, these different standards that are different than a typical commercial development standard. So the purpose of the agri-attainment standard is to provide some relief that we would ordinarily find in a commercial zoning district, but do not apply or do not work in an agricultural application. So, for instance, these are the permitted uses in AR5. I just highlighted the first few. There's some more in the middle. Agri-attainment would be on the bottom of that list now as K. Agri-attainment, and then we go to the specific development standards and regulations. For those of you who were here for the medical marijuana, this is exactly how we did the medical marijuana cultivation facilities. We added it as a use and then had a separate standard. So this is similar in the regard that you have these additional standards so that you don't have to comply with a strict commercial standard. When you invite the public in to a building or a structure on private property, even though it's private property, it's considered a commercial use. So when you conduct some of these activities that people have, horse shows, Boy Scout conventions, all of these sorts of things. When you invite the public in, that's a commercial use, especially when you're making money doing it. So there's a difference in a commercial standard and in the agritainment standard.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Before you go on any further? If I wanted to sell my strawberries and I had 5 acres, would that be permitted under the AR5 permitted uses?
Right now, yes,
Okay,
as long as they're primarily grown on site.
yes. And I
Yes.
can do that without getting an agritainment.
Correct. As
Okay.
long as they're primarily grown on site.
Would I have to pay my parking lot?
Right now, yes, if you're inviting people onto your property to sell things,
I mean,
that's a commercial
It's only
use.
going to be for a month, like 3 weeks, the strawberries are in season.
The way-
Do I have to pay my parking lot?
The way the UDO is written right now, yes. If you build a new commercial structure to sell your strawberries out of, then yes, you would have to pave.
So I'm just building a small wooden structure to sell strawberries, and I let them out there. I have to pay under the current UDO,
That's correct.
or I have to get a variance,
Or you have to get a variance.
okay?
Okay, I did want to run through does anybody have any questions about any of this? Okay, I did want to run through the amendments, the proposed amendments. We've discussed these last time. Staff did make staff did make all the changes that the commission had recommended. Unfortunately, our attorney got a little carried away with editing and took out some language we need to put back in. So, does anybody have any questions about the meanings of the words and terms for agritainment or overnight rental unit? No questions. Okay, good. AR 36 permitted uses, again, we'd add agritainment and see subsection 4.32 for the standards and regulations. Similarly with AR 5, which is chapter 3.6. And then 3.7 AR 4 agricultural residential 4-acre minimum. These would be added as a permitted use in that as well. Any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, we've already read the purpose earlier. The general regulations, agritainment uses shall be developed in a manner and on a scale that complements existing on-site structures and maintains the rural environment of Chino Valley. Agritainment uses shall be secondary or accessory uses to an established agricultural or residential use. Number 3, no land shall be converted from agriculture to non-agricultural uses for purposes of or in connection with an agritainment use. You can't take land permanently out of production. This is an accessory use to an agricultural or a residential use. Prior to commencing operations as an agritainment use, the property owner or agent shall submit an application to the Development Services Department and obtain approval of, at a minimum, a site plan and dust control plan. Now, the dust control plan is strictly for on-site circulation. So if you're tilling crops, if you're planting row crops, you are not required to submit a dust control plan. Only the on-site circulation requires that.
So standard daily farm practices are not covered under this.
Correct. All structures with bathroom facilities shall be connected to the town sewer system in compliance with Title V of the Chino Valley Town Code.
I have a question. I'm sorry to interrupt you just like that, but I had to get in there somehow. So what if I had a septic system and there's no sewer in the vicinity? What do I have to put in a septic tank?
Right, that's where she got a little carried away with the editing. And Chuck, you have the exact language?
Well, I made up some language that's relatively exact because I had the same question as Commissioner Bacon. I would like to see some wordage in there that if there is no sewer hookup available on the site, then a septic system, an operating septic system would be an alternate to replace the requirement of hooking into the city sewer. Because there's lots of places in town that do not have the sewer. And the septic system would be, that's its primary function anyways, for a site that doesn't have city sewer.
Right, the previous version of this had another sentence that said, if the town sewer line is not available for connection of the facility, the facility shall be connected to a septic system approved by the town of Chino Valley and the Yavapai County Environmental Services. Staff would suggest adding that back.
Okay. We'd like to make sure that gets included into any motion that we make.
Yes.
I have another question.
Sure.
On your staff report on item 2, on the second page, it said, sites with bathroom facilities, and a permanent structure will be required to connect to either septic system approved by the town and county. I'm not quite sure what the IPC chapter is, but how does the town enter into a approval of a sanitary, of a septic system when only the county approves it?
That's a good question. So the way that the International Plumbing Code is the IPC, Chapter 701 governs septic systems and waste collection. What it says is that the building officials, the building inspectors, are responsible for inspecting the portion of the septic system that starts at the exterior wall of the house and goes to the septic tank. That is the purview of the building inspectors. That's covered by the plumbing code. Everything, the tank and everything further out, the leach fields, any lines that are laid, that is all has to be approved by the county. So it's 2 approvals.
Okay, so the county doesn't look at the first part like...
Correct.
Okay, I understand.
Right,
Okay.
they look here, we look here.
Okay.
And just for a little more clarification, because this is what I do for a living, is build stuff. It's been that way from day one, that the building department always has authority for anything that gets hooked into the septic or sewer systems. They're called a septic or sewer yard line. They inspect the size of the pipe, the slope, depth of the pipe in the ground, that sort of thing. And that's a very typical, normal inspection that's carried out on every building that's built. And that not only applies to Chino Valley, but to any building jurisdiction in Yavapai County.
Yes, that's typical.
Thank you.
Excuse me, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Can I go back to item 3 just for a moment?
Sure.
No land shall be converted from agricultural to non-agricultural.
We've been stuck on this before, and if the commission would like to remove it, the staff is fine with that recommendation.
I think one of the things that it's just slightly confusing is it sort of sounds like you can never turn this thing into a house lot or develop the land as a commercial use. I understand myself that anything that's on the property now that doesn't have a structure of some sort setting on it is considered farmable land, even if you're not using it for that purpose. It's just a bit confusing that we're trying to say that you can't convert any farmland into either a residential subdivision or a commercial property or something like that. So if there's some way we could maybe word it a little different.
Well, I think the in connection with an agritainment use specifies for the duration of the period that you use this property as an agritainment use, you can't permanently convert it to anything else. However, I agree this is iffy wording.
So maybe we could have that reworded to maybe put that timeline in, that as long as it's considered an agritainment facility, that you can't take any existing farmland, agricultural land, and turn it into something like a parking lot or a swimming pool or a barn. Maybe barn is not a good...
Right, and that's what I mean. I think that this, I'm not wild about this language myself.
So
Can we strike it?
Yeah.
it seems very confusing. Maybe we should just do away with it.
We can strike it, and if it's the desire of the commission, I can always bring back, when we forward this to the council, say the planning and zoning struck this portion, and if they want to put it back, they can put it back. But we can forward it with the recommendation that this be struck.
I think the intent behind this was to reassure everybody that we weren't going to make you pave a parking lot and remove half your farm. I know that was the intent, but I don't know how to get the words there.
Right.
So maybe we'll just strike that off.
All right. Okay, let's see, dust control sewers. Number 6, prior to beginning an agri-tainment operation, the owner or agent shall obtain a business license from the town of Chino Valley and a transaction privilege tax license and all other approvals required by state and local laws and regulations. Essentially, there are things that some of these agri-tainment uses could do that may be taxable, and like any other business in town, they would need to get a business license and a TPT license.
And the activities that would be taxed are clearly stated in the state tax laws.
They are, yes, pages of them. Minimum setback requirements for all structures, tent, and recreational vehicle sites is 50 feet from the side and rear property lines. Front setback shall be as set forth in section 4.28 of this code. So that means if someone is having an overnight, a horse show, somebody comes up from the valley, wants to spend the night before, or they're coming up for a rodeo, or they're coming up for a cow show, if they have cow shows, then they can come up the night before and spend the night and then show their cows or rabbits or whatever the next day. And 50 feet off the property line would provide adjoining property owners some privacy.
Which is fairly normal for a setback on a residence.
Yes. Agri-tainment facilities shall be exempt from the paving requirement set forth in section 4.22 off-street parking and loading when the following apply. A, paving or hard surface would permanently remove agricultural lands out of production, and B, a dust control and ADA compliant access plan has been approved by the Development Services Director or his/her designee. Everybody get that?
No.
Okay.
I'm thinking about that right now. Maybe we can come back to it.
Sure.
Maybe just a little clarification.
Sure.
The intent behind the paving and hard surface was not to remove any farmland from production, and the dust control and ADA compliant access plan would mean, one, the dust control for the traffic on site,
Correct.
not daily farm purposes, and then also you have to have a hard enough surface to be ADA compliant that somebody can push or propel themselves in a wheelchair to get to the facilities for the bathrooms and that sort of thing, which could be just about any kind of compacted granular material.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be concrete, asphalt, or it could be decomposed granite or ABC or whatever, as
Mhm.
long as it's hard enough for a wheelchair to navigate
Correct.
successfully.
I have a question about that. If you take an acre of your 36 acres to
Mhm.
use as parking for your
Correct.
agri-tainment business, could you have handicap parking in a small section of that had the surface that you need?
Yes.
You wouldn't have to do the surface for the entire acre.
Correct.
All right.
That's
thank you.
that's what the intent is here, is so
Okay.
that you're not paving over your hayfield or.
Okay. Well, it
And-
would take a lot to put crushed granite down over an acre.
Right,
Right.
but the key words are the ADA compliant access, which
Okay.
means there's a certain amount of area according to the American Disabilities Act, which is a federal, not only a law, but it's gone through the Supreme Court and it's now a judgment. And they're very specific on what you can and cannot do for their access.
Okay, thank you.
The book's about that thick.
One of many. Number 9, food service for guests of the facility shall be provided only in compliance with Arizona, Yavapai County, and local health licensing and inspection regulations. So if you're offering a meal service, you're subject to the same regulation as any other restaurant would be. Overnight rental units are permitted in compliance with the following regulations. The total area and any combination occupied overnight rental units on a parcel shall not exceed 1,200 square feet under roof. Any questions with that? Okay. Agri-tainment facility, including overnight rental units, shall not exceed the maximum lot coverage allowed for the zoning district. Overnight rental units shall be limited to a maximum occupancy of 30 days per stay.
Ms. Mady,
Yes.
we had a speaker who had interns come and work.
Yes.
Would they leave for a day and then
Um,
renew the 30 days? How does that work?
Well, generally, they're not paying rent, so it's not a
Okay.
rental unit.
They're trading services for room and board.
Right. Overnight rental unit shall be at least 200 square feet under roof. Each overnight rental unit shall include, under one contiguous roof, a bathroom and a bedroom. A kitchen may also be included. 11, campgrounds and RV sites are permitted in compliance with the following. Minimum tent site area is 900 square feet. Minimum recreational vehicle site area is 1,200 square feet. Tent sites and recreational vehicles sites shall comply with Section 4.19B, which is another portion of the UDO that deals with campgrounds. Any questions about those? All right. Overnight rental units, campgrounds, and recreational vehicle sites may be rented through online lodging marketplaces. This is a recent action by the governor. It's been through the state legislature that municipalities and other political subdivisions can no longer restrict or prohibit things like Airbnb or vacation rentals by owner. Agri-tainment uses, activities, and events include, but are not limited to, the following: bed and breakfast, farm stay programs, arenas, public and private, stables, commercial and private, stands for the sale of produce when primarily grown on site, which is more than 50%, farmers markets, food hubs, community-supported agriculture and food co-ops, farm kitchens and bakeries, cheese, soap, jam, jelly production, educational, instructional, and interpretive seminars and classes, U-Pick operations, boutique wineries, microbreweries, craft distilleries, and microbreweries. I guess we really like microbreweries. You can take the
Fix
second
that.
one out. Short-term events such as food and wine festivals, art shows, weddings, and similar temporary gatherings. Interactive displays and activities such as petting zoos, farm camps, 50-mile producer dinners, animal sanctuaries, and rescues.
Just for conversation, what is a 50-mile producer dinner?
A 50-mile producer dinner is a dinner that a group of farmers within a 50-mile radius get together and they produce. They usually hire some chefs, and they will come in, and the entire meal is made of is just
Locally
things
grown
grown
stuff.
within that 50-mile radius.
Thank you.
Now, was this, this would be more than one type of thing? This would not be one time only then?
What's
for
that?
these dinners?
Right. You could do it one time if you want. If you wanted to do it more than that, well, you'd have to indicate that.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Now, I have a question on number 4. Stands for the sale of farm produce when primarily grown on site, more than 50% grown on site. Now, I would think that existing, I'm going to use the example of strawberry stands.
Sure.
They're grandfathered in at the present time in the
Correct.
town.
Right.
So if this goes into effect and I still have that stand, I do not have to pave that area, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this is for new development.
Right.
Okay,
Actually,
I-
strictly speaking, I would recommend taking when primarily grown on site out because, well, we do refer to farmers market. Never mind.
okay. I just have the question with the current UDO that requires this and having the strawberry producer seek a variance. I don't think it's reasonable. I think we should look at the UDO for providing some exception for 1 month operation, and he gets 40 cars in a month to pick his strawberries, and yet he has to go through a variance proposal. I think our regulations have to be conducive and user-friendly for the public rather than making him go through a government regulatory process.
And that's exactly what this does. So anybody who already has a strawberry stand that says, hey, I want to be an agri-tainment business, comes in, says, here's my site plan, here's the ADA access to my strawberry stand. I don't want to pave this because if I do, the runoff will be polluted and I won't be able to ever grow anything again. Can you approve this site plan so I can have my strawberry stand and not pave?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's the answer. So that's the exactly what you're describing is the intent of this ordinance.
Okay, so you wouldn't have to get a variance then?
No. So if you already have a strawberry stand or you
Right.
sell eggs
Mm-hmm.
and you have a little shed out there and your eggs are in the little fridge in the shed and people come by and they pick them up and they throw some money in there and you have not paved, you can now come in and go, hey, I have a little egg farm, I'm selling eggs, I would like to be considered an agritainment because people come from all over to buy my eggs. I have fabulous eggs. Great. Where's your site plan? How does somebody who's handicapped get in and out of your shed? Okay, here it is. All right, fine, you're ready to go.
Okay, I think I'm misunderstanding you. Why would they have to even come in to apply for the agri-entertainment use because they're already grandfathered in to do this?
Right. If they don't come in for the agritainment use,
Okay.
then they're required to pave if it's new construction or conversion of a residential structure to a commercial purpose.
But an existing setup, what would be their status?
Their status would be legal, well, no, because they're not legal now. So they would either have to go get a variance or say, I want to be an agritainment business. And this is the mechanism that they would get the relief from the paving requirement.
So if they're legally non-conforming, they don't have to do anything.
Correct.
But if they want to expand and go future and go into this agri-entertainment type of use, they would
Right.
have to come in and apply for this particular zoning.
Right.
Okay.
They would come in and say, I'm agritainment, I have my chicken farm, and I have eggs, and people stop and they watch the chickens run around,
Sure.
and then they buy my eggs. I want to be agritainment. Okay, fine.
Okay.
We need a site plan, on-site dust control, and is this going to remove your property from permanent production if we make you pave?
I'm sorry to be asking repetitive
No,
questions, but I want to make sure I understand this, because if this, depending on commission, we could be voting on this tonight. My concern is, again, with the UDO, and I think we should look at it. I'm thinking that once again, this is within the town limits, not in the county, but somebody wishing to do something on 5 acres and they just want to open up a stand for 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to, through the UDO, not through this classification, they have to go through that variance process.
Right.
And I really think that I'm not sure that's really friendly. And that's just a comment, not
Right.
particularly on this.
Well, and you're exactly right. That's not friendly. And that's the impetus for all of this, is because that is not friendly to agricultural businesses. They don't operate the same as a tire store or a Circle K. It's a completely different operation. So to treat them as a regular commercial use is not friendly, and it just flat out does not work for an agricultural business.
But they would still then, even if to apply for the rezoning then, is what you're saying, in order to do what they want to do?
No, because this is an overlay district.
Okay,
So this is if you are in one of these 3 districts, this is an overlay district. So you can say, I have 5 acres, I want to sell strawberries, I don't want to pave. I'm an agritainment. I'm selling produce grown primarily on site. That's an agritainment use. I come in, I say, here's where people are going to park. I'm going to water it. Am I not getting it?
No, there's a piece that you guys are missing, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're doing well.
The chair recognizes the town
I may not be
manager.
understanding it, so I offer my,
Yeah, I'm sorry. My name's Robert Smith. I work with the town of Chino Valley. There's a piece that's missing here. The existing strawberry stand concept, I get what you're saying there. The town of Chino Valley doesn't regulate those things at the moment, so there's no permit existing for that stand. So it does not have non-conforming protections associated with it because there has literally been no regulatory involvement with that use. So the use is there, but it's a non-permitted use, and it has no protections because there's not a permit or any kind of regulation associated with it. Now, the purpose of the agritainment thing is to allow those uses to continue and to give them a path outside of a variance process that is not adversarial. And so what we are talking about instituting a regulation within the code. These are additional rules, but it is a relaxation of the existing zoning codes. So this allows more uses in each zone. And if we are going to recognize this kind of land use as a regulated use, at some point they have to come under a permit. And if they're currently not under a permit, there's no protections there. But this offers a very flexible, low-cost, low-intrusion way for those existing strawberry stand operators to get in conformity with the code. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Mr.
That's
Smith?
fine, thank you.
He's a recovering planner, he can't help himself.
You just mentioned low cost, and that was one of the questions on my brain. Is there a proposed cost?
We have not developed a proposed cost yet. Any fee that we assess to this application would have to be approved by council. They're the only ones that can assess fees. And for the amount of work involved in this, $50. Unless it's something huge, yeah.
Okay.
If that would be the upper end, really, quite frankly.
Thank
So,
you.
oh, I'm sorry, Annie.
Just wanna
So
say
just to
thank you.
clarify a little bit, right now, these stands are in business and operating, but they're not operating quote-unquote legally. They're just being, you guys have just not enforced anything.
More or less. They are allowed in specific districts, but as far as a standard for strawberry stands or egg farms, no, there is not one.
Okay, so what this can do for those folks is give them some legal standing and
Exactly.
protect them from having to do everything that a Circle K has to do to their property to have the public come on it.
Right, exactly. So instead of having 12 people having to come in for variances, it's the egg farmer, the strawberry stand, the avocado guy. We have a mechanism that they can come in, here's my site plan, here's where my parking is, here's my dust control, this is my ADA access. We're good. As long as we can approve it, as long as it meets ADA and as long as it's adequate in terms of watering.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Was that all of them? That was. Any other questions?
Does any of the commissioners have any questions they'd like to ask? Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to open the floor for public comment at this point. Again, we're going to try to stay with the 3-minute rule just so we can all go home and eat dinner tonight. Doesn't look like a large crowd, but we'd like to stick with that. So if anybody would like to speak, please step up to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to tell us what you think.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Cavender. Address is 164 West Leanna Drive. Just moved here about a year ago from Phoenix, where I've been working as the executive director of a 501c3 charity called the Resolution Horse Company. We rescue abused and neglected horses, and we train them and then provide free therapeutic riding for special needs and at-risk children. So we've now moved down to Chino Valley, and we're in the process of putting our operations together, and we were getting ready to go through the conditional use permit process when this arose. And the thing I wanted to communicate to you is, for us, this is a huge, huge lifesaver, really. It makes it much easier for us to do what we do. The other thing is, it's very nice to explain to our donors that the city we've chosen to move to is a welcoming one. They're encouraging this kind of a thing. Your donations are not going for government fees. They're actually going to help kids and horses. So hopefully, I urge you to consider this thing favorably. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak?
Hi, I'm Candy Rodering, and I'm with Blue Moon Rescue, which is another 501c3, and this is like a wonderful, wonderful thing for us. We have mostly sanctuary horses, the old ones that no one wants. We do work, so far we've worked with Helping Hands, developmentally disabled adults that come and just pet them and love them and brush them. And we're moving to Chino Valley. We just got our building permit approved today. And this just makes our life so much better because we can work at becoming more self-sufficient than we have been in the past and not be begging for donations all the time. Thank you. I hope you guys go for it.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, seeing as how we've seemed to have gone through everybody that wanted to speak, I would like to now entertain a motion for this paperwork that we've been staring at for so long.
Can I ask our planning director one more question? Sure. Could you tell us something of the history on how you've been meeting with any groups or any residents regarding this particular district, and any comments you may have had regarding it, other than the few people who spoke tonight?
Well, that's been the bulk of who we've been working with. We've sent out 16 letters to different agri-tainment type uses in the community. We sent them to the Windmill House, the Chino Valley Farm, and several others. Like I said, there were about 16. The Horsemen's Association, all of those groups were invited to attend. Mm-hmm. And when we started doing this about a year ago, we did another roundtable. We only had one person come and discuss, their issues, which were largely water issues, which we don't regulate. And so we've kind of moved forward in that direction. The genesis really of this was when Mr. Freeman had the issues with paving and his new restroom facility. And the direction from council and the town manager was, let's figure out a way to do this. And by the way, if there are other things in the way, let's fix those too. So we've been having an ag background myself. I'm pretty familiar with what the issues are. We did a lot of research on different ordinances from different states. We talked to Verde Valley has a similar ordinance. Theirs is not quite as broad in scope as ours. So we've done quite a bit of research. We've spoken with the attorney, any experience she's had with any other communities like this. We've had a very good response. Like I said, we've had this group turn out for the last meeting. Gary Warren was there both as an ag business and as a member of the chamber. So we spent quite a bit of time talking about this, looking at the different regulations, what's getting in the way and what's not.
At our last meeting, we had one proponent who was very, very against this code. Has he come forward to speak with you at any meetings?
We did have a meeting with Mr. Freeman, like I said in the introduction. We did meet with Mr. Freeman. We met with him for about 45 minutes. He had some general comments. The chair and the vice mayor asked him to write down any suggestions that he may have specific to the ordinance, and to date we have not received any. We've received more general comments, but we have not received any specific corrections, amendments, suggestions, or anything.
Okay, I thought that was very important to add, and thank you for adding that.
Thank you for asking.
One more thing just to clarify, and I asked this question directly to the vice mayor at the end of the meeting that we had with Mr. Freeman after Mr. Freeman left. I asked him, was this ordinance, not really an ordinance, it's an amendment, was it under the direction of the town staff? Because in the meeting, in the public meeting, it was insinuated that town staff kind of took it upon themselves to do this. And from what the mayor said, or vice mayor said, maybe hopefully the future mayor, that nothing gets done without the city council's direction.
Correct.
Hi.
Vice Mayor, welcome.
I'm Vice Mayor Croft, and the town council has been concerned about this, and we did task the town manager and staff to come up with an ordinance like this so we could deal with it. So it was not a staff ordinance, the town did direct it. And we're trying to again, speak to Mr. Freeman, and so far we haven't had very good results. So,
okay.
Thank you, sir.
I have something to add to that. Also in the June 15 minutes, it's my lucky day, I guess. I asked Mr. Freeman to list his main objections, and his main objections is what is the problem trying to solve, which I believe Ms. Mayday has outlined for us. Staff is redefining what he does, which is agriculture, not agritainment. Agriculture businesses do not need to be redefined. and agriculture regulations from the town, county, state, and federal government are already in place. Those were his three main objections that he stated when asked.
And I think the way this amendment is written, none of those things are happening. So I think we've all done the very best we can to satisfy his arguments.
Thank you.
Yes, and I would like to have seen something more concrete from him in writing as well, but it's an opportunity for the citizens to participate, but they have to participate in the process actively. Thank you, Mrs. Mayday.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments or concerns concerning this?
Were we considering actually dropping that one section under 4.32B, number 3, no land shall be converted from agricultural to non-agricultural uses for purposes of or in connection with agri-attainment? I think at some point, if you're going to add an agri-attainment aspect to your farm, that at some point you're going to have to take some land to do that with. Or perhaps if you're rotating crops, you rotate the space that you use every year or every season. So are we going to actually ask for that to be gotten rid of or reworded?
I think we asked to have it struck. And
Okay.
we can clarify that right now at this point if you'd like.
That is what we asked for.
To be
Okay.
struck.
That's what I would prefer, but
Okay.
I wanted to make sure.
Okay, so in any motion that we make, that should be considered to be struck out of this wordage.
Chairman Merritt, how did you want to see number 5 rewarded if we so do make a motion? Is there specific wording?
I
Or we'll
think
leave it with the
Ruth,
staff?
I think there was some wordage in the prior document that was very satisfactory. It just got edited out of this by mistake, and Ruth could read that wordage back. I think that would be a good setup.
As soon as Ruth finds it again.
I had it at some point.
And that's a different version. All structures with bathroom facilities shall be connected to the town sewer system in compliance with Title V of the Chino Valley Town Code. And let me grab a different version. If the town sewer line is not available for connection in the facility shall be connected to a septic system approved by the town of Chino Valley and Yavapai County Environmental Services. So
Could
we
you
could-
repeat that one more time, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you repeat that one more time, please?
Sure. Slowly?
I'm writing it down.
If the town sewer line is not available for connection, ready? The facility shall be connected to a septic system approved by the town of Chino Valley and the Yavapai County Environmental Services. And I guess we could take the out of there and just and Yavapai County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval to City Council of ordinance number 16823, with the following changes. That microbreweries on section C be eliminated. It's a double word there. Number of section 4.32B3 be deleted. And for B5, if Commissioner Annie, could you please read that back as you've written it down?
My honor. All structures with bathroom facilities shall be connected to the town sewer system in compliance with Title V of the Chino Valley Town Code. And if the town sewer line is not available for connection, the facility should be connected to a septic system approved by the town of Chino Valley and Yavapai County Environmental Services.
That agree?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. I'm going to do something a little different than we usually do. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Lane?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Bacon?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Woffen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
And Chair Merritt?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion is carried unanimously. Okay, moving forward, item 7, non-public hearing action items. I don't believe that we have any of those this evening. Any discussion items that the commission has? Okay, none of those. And then we move forward to public comments, which would attain to anything that's not already on the agenda. Does the public have anything they'd like to say? Yes, ma'am. Would you please approach the microphone and please state your name and address.
My name is Suzanne Fono T, 1250 North Blue Star Road, Chino Valley. Why isn't there a town hall sign on the southbound wall? I have gone by this place so many times, and then I go, crap, I missed it, and I've had to turn around.
Amen.
Could we please I'll paint it. I mean, town hall, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that the folks that would concern that are here this evening and possible action might be taken. Anybody else have anything to say? And by the way, from our perspective, it's very nice to see the public here. Most of the time when we ask that question, there isn't a soul sitting in those seats. So thank you.
Yes.
Nobody's ever.
So
Unless it's
having
marijuana.
concluded business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously.